It's actually been so long since I've talked about Hardcore Leveling Warrior. Like, legitimately. My last video said that because I talked about Lore Olympus for like 9 weeks, like a month ago. But my last Hardcore Leveling Warrior video was November 15th. And I love Hardcore Leveling Warrior. So it's a shame that I really haven't talked about it. And so much has happened. From Ethan making a very, very slight appearance, more lore about the world, the #1 ranker, a sick heart heater fight. Even Sora's ego sword can now talk and looks like the god of war because when he was made into a human type, he mimicked the strongest being that he ever seen, which is absolutely adorable. But I've been kind of struggling to talk about Hardcore Leveling Warrior. I don't really like doing reviews or speculations, and I don't think Season 2 is anywhere near done, so a character chart series is out of the question. Anyways, while I wanted to do Hardcore Leveling Warrior videos, I randomly got really into Hamilton. And I watched this video by Make Stuff, talking about motifs in Hamilton, and how they can create emotional paradoxes in us. And I'm just going to use the way he defines motifs because I really like it. It's a thing in art that pops up more than once. A word or phrase or sound or an image or a color or an idea that is recurring in a story. While watching that video, I had a thought. Hey, webtoons are art, right? Webtoons is a form of media or art. So I wanted to see if I could find a motif or reoccurring thing in some of these webtoons. And which better webtoon to start than the one that practically started this channel out. Let's look for some motifs in Hardcore Leveling Warrior. Now, there are a lot of reoccurring phrases, actions, words, and ideas in the story of Hardcore Leveling Warrior. There are a lot of things repeated, like multiple skills, such as deja vu or lucky coin, to things that just happen all the time, like Ethan getting really greedy or Sora getting really hungry. But instead, I wanted to talk about one of the most important skills in the story of Hardcore Leveling Warrior. Moonlight Slash. While Moonlight Slash isn't even the first skill used in the series, it is the most memorable skill used in the first episode. Back when literally everyone hated Ethan, they decided that enough was enough. So they hatched a plan to pile on the #1 ranked player, which backfired. Instead of beating the evil, not only do their skills miss or do next to no damage, but they get the full-on rage from the #1 ranked player, taking down everyone in one slice. Mono Blade Rage. Moonlight Slash. But before going any further, let's take a look at that Moonlight Slash, because it's really different from any other moment after this with Moonlight Slash. First, the obvious. Since it was earlier in the story, not everything was ironed out. Like for the purpose of our video, the skills. In earlier episodes, skills weren't typically called out. They just kind of happened. Like the other players in this episode, they go all in. No skills are called out, but skills are used. Another example is during the Scallion head fight. Now that I think about it, it's a weird name, but he constantly heals Ethan during the fight, but no skill was used. No skill was said. There was no use skill, heal. Which is fine. But notice Ethan in this moment, physically saying his skill, like a nerd that's really passionate about gaming, crying out his favorite attack. But for Ethan, it may be different. During the story, it's the system that says your skill name. It's the system that knows how it works. It's the system. But early Ethan believes that he's the best. He's the #1 ranked player, the only all-stat user. So he is actually the strongest, the fastest, the luckiest. But his ego is boosted so much that he believes he's better than the game itself. Better than the system. So much so that he actually believes that he should announce his moves, announce his Moonlight Slash, his signature move. He believes he's above the system, above the game, above the world he's playing in. And it goes into his life as a restarted player. We see in the fight with Bamboo Spear, he still calls out his attacks. Even when he's a low level, he's still yelling out his favorite attack, Moonlight Slash. And that's because Ethan hasn't changed yet. Even in this moment, he's still a terrible person. So the meaning of Moonlight Slash still reminds us of that first Ethan we saw. That first Ethan that blocked people from doing quests for no reason. The first Ethan that would kill steal. The first Ethan that was so greedy and rich but still wanted more and more and more. However, that's kind of the charm of Hardcore Leveling Warrior. Ethan changes. Our next memorable Moonlight Slash is when fighting in the subjugation round of the combat tournament. When Ethan is embracing working with a team, embracing the fact that he needs to rely on others, at least for now, to help him. Ethan throws himself into danger multiple times to help others, accepting BB's plan, attacking with Tak, who deserves his own video someday, even sacrificing himself in order to save Dark. Yes, Ethan is doing this because he's rude, selfish, and egotistical, playing along because it's the only way to get back on top, but that's where I might very slightly disagree. After the subjugation round, he yells at Dark, "You think we're friends now because we've been staying together? No, I've never trusted you in the first place. You're paying me to do this anyway. I decide how to fight." Yes, Ethan acts like a child most of the time. He acts insane, extremely rude, and thinks he knows better than everyone. But it's more than that. I know it's more than that because of the skill, Moonlight Slash. You know what's interesting? Moonlight Slash. It's not like it's the best skill. We hear from Master Swordsman himself. Do you think you will get better when you learn Moonlight Slash? The skill isn't even teachable, and it's only half a skill. The reason he mains the ability is because he doesn't really have any other sword skills to use. There are way more powerful skills other than Moonlight Slash, you know. He couldn't take all the other skills. To me, it's still strange that Ethan continues to use a skill that is considered by many to be subpar, until you remember how he started to see and use it. Back then, Ethan wasn't as Ethan. He was certainly a jerk, but more like a kid who was shy and wanted to be left alone. He was proud of who he became, but he wanted to be left to himself. We see this Ethan when he interacts with Master Swordsman, when Master Swordsman was ranked number 3. Dueling him and seeing Moonlight Slash being used to beat him over and over again, over 100 times with Moonlight Slash. Ethan is certainly nostalgic, remembering the good old days, back when he was happier, back when he had people who cared about him, back when he was in a guild with fun and interesting people. And while he'll never admit it, it's obvious that he continues to use Moonlight Slash so much because it meant so much to him back then. Because that Zara guild that he was a part of meant so much to him. But going back to what Master Swordsman said, Moonlight Slash is only part of a skill. And we do get to see the rest of the skill. Lacerate. A dangerous skill that slices enemies so cleanly that they cannot regenerate. Not only a cool skill, but a skill that was created by the god of Lucid Adventure. And there's a reason that Ethan hasn't learned about this skill when he was the number 1 ranked. There's a reason that he didn't learn about it back then. There's a reason that he still can't easily use it for some time. Because Ethan's not ready for that kind of stuff. He's not ready for the danger that skill brings. We see Ethan trying to get better though, teaching Sora Moonlight Slash and being pleasantly surprised when she counters him with it. Even using Moonlight Slash and Lacerate in multiple fights in the Siege and PvP rounds. And while you might think Lacerate isn't Moonlight Slash, therefore isn't part of that motif, which is the point of this video, think of it like this. It's the next step of Ethan's character. It's who Ethan is becoming. And he's becoming a better person. Very, very slightly better, but still better. He continues to use both Moonlight Slash and Lacerate in many fights. But let's skip to the end with one of the coolest fights in webtoon history. Number 1 ranked Ethan versus Team Light, and especially versus Nightmare Light. We see the person who Ethan has become. Someone who fights to help his friend to see his grandfather. someone who risks everything to protect the people who push him forward, eventually lacerating nightmare light out of the sky to protect the people he cares about. And while this is an awesome moment, that's not exactly the last time we see Moonlight Slash and Lacerate used. We get to see both those skills used multiple times in Season 2, even though Ethan's not there. And that's why I want to bring it back to Motifs. A reoccurring idea, thing, belief, image, phrase, word. Because when we see Moonlight Slash used, it makes us feel something. It makes us feel excited, scared, nostalgic, worried, and most of all, somber. Because when we see someone using Moonlight Slash or Lacerate, we remember Ethan, the old #1 ranked, the only all-stat user, the hardcore leveling warrior. To many, this may seem strange. It may be obvious to many hardcore leveling warrior fans, yeah, we like Ethan because who he became. I recently read 2 different reviews on Goodreads, of all places, on hardcore leveling warrior, and they both started out kinda similar. Now, the first one said, to be honest, in the first few chapters, I didn't like their characters at all. And the other one reads, what can I say about hardcore leveling warrior? I wanted to punch the main character in the face at the start of the first chapter. Plain and simple. But here's the interesting part. The first review gave it 4 stars, and the second review gave it 1. Which is understandable. Unlike a lot of other forms of media or even other webtoons, typically our main character is introduced in some interesting, memorable, and usually positive aspect. Maybe it's loyalty, or maybe it's humor, or maybe it's literally anything positive. Something to make you feel for them. Something that makes you relate to them. Ethan starts out with none of these aspects. He's brash, arrogant, spoiled, greedy, rude, outright hostile, and aggressive. These traits aren't a great first introduction, but we get to see that development, that slow and gradual change. Like Moonlight Slash, eventually that changes into something wonderful, something amazing, something that makes me really miss that terrible person every time I see that move. Every time we see the move Moonlight Slash or Lacerate, it makes us remember Season 1. It makes us remember the trials and tribulations that Ethan's gone through, his character development, where he was and where he's gone, and how much we miss him. I do miss Ethan in the story, and I'm sure that we'll get to see him one day, but even if we don't, the memory of that motif, the memory of the moments with Moonlight Slash and Lacerate, they don't let us forget those moments. They don't let us forget who Ethan was, who Ethan became in the story. They don't let us forget about Ethan. But like always, thank you for watching.